Hi, my name's Cheese, and welcome to another Fossil Sweeper Progress Update video. If you haven't heard of the project before, you can find an overview here, but the TLDR is, it's like Minesweeper, but you're digging up fossils, and you get to build skeletons out of the stuff that you find. Over the past month or so, I've continued to work on polishing some Misc bits and pieces for the map phase. Building on work I'd done in the previous month on map phase icons and transitions, I refactored dig site layout generation to happen when a site is spawned. This means that the layout information is available sooner, and the icon for the dig site's shape can be shown before visiting for the first time. Initially, I replaced the local travel destination icon with the dig site layout, but with so much possible variation in shape and size, it didn't feel quite right, and I eventually ended up settling on displaying it as a map inset with a red dot representing the local destination on the globe. I like this kind of presentation a little bit more than I was expecting. It helps to maintain a sense of scale in a fun way and allows the travel line and dot stuff to be more consistent. For now, it's presented as a silhouette of the dig shape without the detail of dug tiles or found fossils. At this stage I'm uncertain of whether or not I'll bring that back, but I'm looking at changing how the data is stored, so I think it makes more sense to decide that after. Before settling on the map inset presentation, I decided to give some attention to how local travel lines are drawn. The old implementation, which goes back to October 2022, was a kind of noise worm, sampling values on a noise texture and selecting the direction that's the lowest. I'd updated it to aim for specific target coordinates and jump peaks to get a more desirable path, or bail if it's taken too long to get there, and while the results were passable, I had a couple of ideas for alternative methods that would let me do a little bit better. Instead of stepping forward and then picking a new direction, I now make a line directly to the destination and then bisect it and offset the new point in a perpendicular direction based on the lowest value in the noise texture. This happens again and again, dividing each path segment and offsetting until the path is an appropriate length or until the segments are too small. As with the noise worm path, I smooth it out into even curves. The results are still winding but feel less random and less grid aligned, which was a side effect of a quick and dirty approach I'd used to avoid overlaps with my initial noise worm implementation. I think there are a couple more things I can do to make the distribution of bisections feel more organic, but overall it's more reliably producing nice looking results than the old system did, and I'd be content to ship what's here if I don't end up finding time to revisit it. While doing work on the map phase stuff, I tidied up and improved a few other miscellaneous bits and pieces. The updated advanced dig function that I mentioned in the last video has been optimized a little bit, and time can now progress multiple turns for particular dig sites, a sort of travel cost that will become more relevant once I add more regions to the map phase. While refactoring how dig sites and their layouts are generated, I tweaked the dig site thumbnail calculation and decided to make a start on refactoring how dig site data is saved. Currently, it's a big old JSON dictionary with each tile's state flags as named properties. For a large dig site that might be upwards of 10,000 lines. I'm in the process of migrating that to be stored as a base 64 encoded string with a byte for each tile representing 4 booleans, whether it's an actual tile, whether it's dug, whether it's flagged, and whether or not it contains a fossil. Instead of storing a null chunk for every tile that doesn't contain something, I'm storing chunks in their own array, and at load time I can read them out and populate the runtime tile data's chunk details as I go, rather than needing to explicitly store coordinates for each. All this cuts my test case saves 1,000 lines down to a couple of hundred lines for chunk details, plus one line to hold that base 64 encoded string that ends up being about a few thousand characters long. Human readable save data has always been important to me, but there are a few concerns to balance. My current test save can get upwards of 60,000 lines long in total, and at that point it becomes cumbersome to navigate in a text editor, effectively making it less human readable. The impact of large saves on load times is something I've noticed as well, and that's also been a motivation behind these optimizations. Another thing that's important to me is preserving compatibility with legacy saves. Partly that's so that I can build and test the general infrastructure I've written for updating old saves before the game is released, but I feel like I also have a responsibility to allow pre-release players to carry something forward. If they've invested time, I want the game to recognise that. That said, for this dig site data format stuff, I'm tempted to just drop legacy save data. A player's fossil inventory from in-progress dig sites would still be preserved. The in-progress dig sites would just be treated as new. I'll see how I feel once that work is done. Because the changes to stored dig site data is significant, and because I'm on the cusp of a couple of other significant additions, I'm planning to bump the minor version up and tag the first build with the new save format as version 0.3. If I do end up deciding to break some legacy compatibility, that will be the time to do it. A very big thank you to the supporters going by on screen at the moment. Their supporters help me eat while making this game, and I am so very appreciative. A huge thanks also to Screen Tasmania, who supported this project with a small grant. Anyway, that's about it for today. If you'd like to keep track of development or try the playable prototype, you can find some links in the description. And if you're super keen to check out what we talked about here today, I make early test builds available to my supporters on Patreon. Thanks for watching, and goodbye!